everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again. Okay, sorry about that. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur TV show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. And as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time I go live. You can follow me on Instagram at Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. You can also follow the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur fan page and follow me on Twitter at DGoddess27. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Now, the Southern Baptist Church has been accused of sexual abuse, and it's been reported by numerous victims. They say that they were stonewalled, and the suspects were allowed to, in fact, remain in leadership, and that this whole thing was covered up by the church. Now, they've recently released a 288-page investigative report from Guidepost Solutions, which was sanctioned by the CBC's own executive committee. They found victims of sexual abuse were met with resistance, stonewalling, and even outright hostility from some of the church clergymen. This is also egregious. Now, they say the investigative report into the Southern Baptist Convention, America's largest Protestant denomination, found sexual abuse victims within the church were stonewalled and treated very bad, and as the suspected perpetrators, they kept their positions and all of that. So they go on to say that an investigation was initiated following the SBC's national meeting last year when outsiders called the EC to take action. They say our investigation revealed that for many years, a few senior EC leaders, along with outside counsel, largely controlled the EC's response to these reports of abuse, and were singularly focused on avoiding liability for the Southern Baptist Convention. They said the report also found that suspected perpetrators of sexual assault were given anonymity, and they were allowed to remain in ministry. They say in service of this goal, survivors and others who reported abuse were ignored, disbelieved, or met with a constant refrain that SBC could take no action due to its policy regarding church autonomy. Now, even if it meant that convicted molesters continued in ministry with no notice or warning to their current church or congregation. This is what Guidepost Solutions found. So they absolutely hid this, covered it up, and allowed these people to stay there and continue to be a potential threat to other parishioners. Now, in a statement Sunday, SBC's President Ed Litton said that he is grieved to the core and called on Southern Baptist members to work on changing the culture that's been found in this report. He says, I pray Southern Baptists will begin preparing today to take deliberate action to address these failures and chart a new course when we meet together in Anaheim for the next SBC meeting. And this is going to be a national meeting. Now, SBC's EC interim leaders, Willie McLaurin and Roland Slade, said they intend to address the findings of the report, saying that we recognize that there are no shortcuts. We must all meet this challenge through prudent and prayerful application, and we must do so with Christ-like compassion. Now, the report also tells the story of Krista Brown, who says that she was sexually abused as a teen by the youth and education ministers at SBC. Now, Brown, who has been one of the most outspoken survivors, told investigators that during the past 15 years, she had received volumes and volumes of hate mail, awful blog comments, and vitriolic phone conversations. Now, after reading through the report, Brown told the Associated Press that it fundamentally confirms that Southern Baptist clergy sex abuse survivors have been saying these things for decades, and it confirms everything that they'd insinuated. Now, she says, I view this investigative report as a beginning, not an end. The work will continue, but no one should ever forget the human cost of what it has taken to even get the SBC to approach this starting line of beginning to deal with clergy sex abuse. They say the SBC will hold its national meeting at Anaheim Convention, at the Anaheim Convention Center on June the 14th through the 15th. Oh, so crazy. And then they also go on to say that according to the report, an executive committee staffer compiled a secret list of 700 ministers accused of this abuse. 700. Now, this is absolutely crazy. And you already know they likely were doing just what they're accused of, and that's covering it all up. How do you hide that when there's that many people involved in it? Now, they say they took no action to ensure that the accused ministers were no longer in positions of power. And this revelation came years after years of victims and advocates called for a public database for the abusers. Lytton encouraged members to pray for the victims or pray for the victims of the sexual abuse, saying that I believe it represents the courage of survivors who have come forward and told their stories. I am praying that God will grant each of us the wisdom and courage to respond with godly sorrow and spirit-driven determination to make our future better than our past. Honey, this is also sad and egregious, honey, and very clearly. People doing this in churches. I mean, but we're not surprised, right? We've heard of this numerous times, especially in Catholic churches with priests. Okay, so with that all being said, let me pull up this video. Everyone get those likes up. Please get the likes up. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you in advance, beloved. Here we go.
Report about sexual abuse within the Southern Baptist Conventions uncovered years of convictions and cover-ups.
The allegations date back at least 20 years, with victims claiming abuse by ministers, youth pastors, Sunday school teachers, deacons, and church volunteers. 7 News reporter Kimberly Brown has the story.
A recent investigation by the Houston Chronicle and San Antonio Express News uncovered sexual abuse allegations in the church. The article says the abuse affected 700 victims over the past 20 years. Reverend Skylar Peterson is not connected to any of these allegations of wrongdoing and says the news is troubling.
The church should be the safest organization in the whole world. You know, and when something like this happens, it just is a reminder that there's just a whole lot of bad stuff out there.
He says his church has safety measures in place to hopefully keep their members and their families safe.
You know, that's something that's always on the forefront of our mind is safety, and we take a lot of measures to make sure that we are never in that situation. From a preventative standpoint, we do background checks on every one of our volunteers. Even if it's a volunteer who has grown up in the church and been here for 30, 40, 50 years.
The investigation done by the Houston Chronicle shows 8 convicted offenders connected to South Carolina, half of them in the upstate. That includes 3 in Greenwood County and 1 in Union County, with charges that include criminal sexual conduct, assault, and the abuse of dozens of children. They held jobs from youth minister to music director and are only part of the more than 380 confirmed convictions across the country compiled in the study. The president of the Southern Baptist Convention, J.D. Greer, responded to the report saying he was broken by the report and called the abuse, quote, pure evil.
That is our Kimberly Brown reporting. In 2018, the Southern Baptist Convention released a resolution encouraging all members to report abuse allegations to law enforcement authorities.
Like I said, that is also nefarious and clearly egregious. And here's the thing. The fact that they covered it up, those people who actually were complicit in covering these things up, they should also be charged as well, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, this is just also deplorable. And here's the thing also. Now, it just further goes to show that there are people, and I have said this before, who are, molesters of children and just freaks and perverts and all of that. And what they usually do, and this further reiterates it, they go out here and they get positions to where they have access to people's children, to where they'll be likely trusted with the care of people's children. They go out here and they become Boy Scout and Girl Scout leaders. They work at summer camps, vacation Bible schools, and as you can see, clergy in the church. These are the things that some of them do. They get jobs as teachers and daycare workers. Because the thing is, when people want to abuse children, they want to be sure that they have access to said children. So they put themselves in these positions, and usually positions of power and authority, so that the children trust them, and not only the children, the parents trust them as well, and don't have a problem with leaving them in these people's care. And these are the type of things that often happen and seem to fester. It's just also sad. And so I wouldn't be surprised if even more information came out and more victims stepped forward. But at the end of the day, they're going to get what's coming to them. And so with that all being said, everyone please like and share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And I hope to see you all in the next broadcast.